part of the Grateful Dead's success is you've always concentrated on the live audience, worked on everything from the sound to the lights. Everything is concentrated in the concert, not on the making of records.
When we got into the studio, we concentrated there, but we didn't spend that much time in the studio. So, you know, we had an enormous organization that we had, you know, it was a big bulldog to feed. And so we had to stay on the road a lot to do that. And so we spent a lot of time on the road. And in order to make it make sense for us to feel fulfilling, we had to make it better every time we went out, whether it meant dressing up our stage with art or keeping abreast of the latest offerings of audio sound reinforcement.
All that high tech doesn't come cheaply, which seems ironic because the Grateful Dead business model looks like a recipe to lose money. It was not something the music industry had ever experienced before. The band allowed those attending their concerts to tape them for free. What about tickets? I'm curious particularly about what's called the taper tickets. First of all, what is a taper ticket and why do you do it?
Well, way back in the 70s when people started recording our shows, first off, our record company said, you got to shut this down. And we looked at the situation and said, you want it shut down, you come in and shut it down. We're not, we don't want to be cops. And they looked at the situation and said, well, we don't want to shut it down either. You know, how that worked out is that, you know, the tapes went out and they just promoted what we did. But there were a lot of people who resented having to peer around microphone stands to see the band. So we figured, okay, let's put all the tapers in one section.
I don't know of any band that allows people to come in masse, as it were, as a whole section to tape the performance. That's considered bad business.
Well, you know, people tried to persuade us of that, but it never worked out to be bad business for us. Yeah, maybe we didn't sell as many records as we might have, but we didn't make great records. We were real good at playing live, and that's what people wanted. And the tapes of those, you know, people would pass them to their friends, to their siblings and stuff like that, and we'd get new fans.
When you pull back for what we in television call the wide shot, to look at the Grateful Dead, whether you like the Grateful Dead or not, whether you know very much about them or not, they've really been intertwined in American history for about a half a century. Part of the fabric of the country, part of Americana, if you will. At night when you're, just before you go to sleep, or maybe you're taking a walk around in the daytime, do you ever think about it and say, wow, we had no idea how this was going to turn out?
Every now and again I get a bit dizzied by what's transpired. I was asking for it. I sure as hell got it. I knocked on the door and it opened wide, and some sort of wind caught me from behind and swept me through that door, and the ground fell away, and I was transported elsewhere, and have lived my life there.
Jerry Garcia was by acclamation the leader of the Grateful Dead. And when he died, there were many people, myself included, who thought, well, that'll be the end of the Grateful Dead. It may be, they may be a little slow going, but that'll be the end of it. When Jerry passed, did that thought cross your mind?
No. First off, the Grateful Dead was a fair bit more democratic than people really seem to understand. It's okay. Whatever you want to think, go ahead and think it. And what it was that we were up to was more democratic than people seem to understand.
And Jerry Garcia, was he a father figure, big brother figure, combined? Where did he fit in?
More or less a big brother figure. We were brothers for sure, or as I've often said, what we had in the band together was, you know, they say that blood is thicker than water, and really what we had was way thicker than blood.
But you were an adopted child.
Yeah.
and your adoptive parents were people of means,
Mm-hmm.
and they had high hopes for you academically.
Yeah.
You said they aspired for you to go to Stanford.
Yeah.
Wasn't on.
You know, and I aspired to go to Stanford, but it was a goal too far. It was out of reach. You know, maybe I might have managed to get into a good school if I'd stuck with it, but music was all I could think about.
So once your family decided, listen, he certainly isn't going to Stanford, he's into music, they in effect kicked you out of the house?
No, I just left. You know, the bus was leaving, and I you know, I sort of slipped off. I'm not sure that I said a proper goodbye. I'd come back around. I loved my parents dearly, and I didn't feel real good about not living up to their expectations. But I was doing what I felt called to do, I guess.
Bob Weir's adoptive parents died in 1971, and a decade later, out of nowhere, Weir got an astonishing phone call.
The telephone rings. It's the morning. It's my office. They're saying there's a lady on the line who says her name is Phyllis, and she says she's your mother. And she also used the last name that was on my birth certificate, and no one would know that but me. And so I said, well, put her through. And so we met, and I had 12 other siblings. She had been prolific. And so, you know, I would call her every now and again. She'd been following me throughout my career because she knew who I was and what I was up to.
But excuse me, the 12 siblings, were any of those put up for adoption?
No, just me.
And when she had the children later, she kept the children
Yeah.
and stayed their mother. What an amazing thing.
Yeah.
So you eventually met her and talked to her.
Yeah. And she gave me some information regarding my dad, and then I chased that down with a private investigator. It took him about 20 minutes to find out that he was, at this point, the commanding officer here at the local Air Force base. And so I just sort of put that information in my back pocket for about 10 years, and finally worked up the nerve to call him.
Took you 10 years to
Yeah.
decide to call him.
Yeah. We met the next day for lunch.
Was he surprised or astounded?
He was astounded. He had no idea I existed. My natural dad and my natural mom had a good old-fashioned fling back at the University of Arizona, but when she realized she was pregnant, she slipped off to San Francisco, where I was born, quietly. And when she came back to Arizona, she made no mention of me. The conversation went kind of like this. I make the phone call. He answers. I said, I figured I had about a 20-second window before it was thanks, I already have one, click. And I told him, well, hi, my name is Robert Weir. I live in Mill Valley, and I've been doing some research and turned up some information that might be of considerable interest to you. He says, okay, well, I'm on the line on another line right now. Can you call me back in 10 minutes? And so that was a long 10 minutes, and I called him back with the same.
Did you think that he would answer the call, or you think he wouldn't ever take a call again?
I didn't know.
Right.
Called him again, same name is Robert Weir. I have to ask you a question or two regarding certain events that transpired in Tucson 50 years ago. And he gets real quiet. And I said, well, sir, did you know and were you perhaps romantically involved with a young lady by the name of Phyllis at that time? And he said, well, yes. And I said, well, sir, I don't know how many kids you have, but there's a strong likelihood that you have one more than you know. Long pause. And he says, well, the only Robert Weir that I know of is this guy who sings and plays for the Grateful Dead. And I said, well, sir, that would be me. Another long pause. then he told me, well, listen, it's not every day you get a call like this. Can I call you back in 20 minutes? And he did, and we arranged to meet the next day for lunch. And at lunch, at first there was a lot of
Really looking you over and you looking him over.
yeah, both. You know, both of us very acutely interested in what this other guy's all about. And after about 20 minutes, we became very, very close friends and stayed that way. And he was my dad.
I find that an amazing story.
Yeah, straight up Reader's Digest kind of stuff.